This is the farmhouse where I grew up, where my father grew up, where my grandfather grew up, where my great-grandfather grew up. The main house was built in 1860. We got electricity in 1943 with the Rural Electrification Act. And now what I am doing is I'm removing the majority of the 1960 updates and reverting the era back to somewhere between 1920 and 1950. I'm going to show you each room in the order that I did them years ago. While I am no more of a carpenter or a designer than any member of my family has ever been, I'm doing it to suit me and my tastes. Going back to chapter 4, the ceiling, we had that electrical problem where they spliced a piece of wire that was too short and then just covered it up and left it. Well, the way it was when I found it, if I'd have torn the wall down, the nickel wall that I just put up, I could have put a whole new wire in. But since I just put that wall up, I'm not. So I had to come up with a special box because the nailers were 3/4 of an inch. Then I'm putting 5/16 of the ceiling. So I needed a 1-inch box. Well, all the boxes are 1.5 inches or deeper. So nobody makes a 1-inch box. Therefore, I had to build one. So I bought a 1/2-inch box, and then I bought this 1/2-inch extension ring from Garvin Industries. They're the only people that make the 3.5-inch by 1/2-inch extension ring. And with that extension ring, all you have to do is bolt it onto your 1/2-inch box, and you have a 1-inch box. And then I put it in the vise and clamped them tight. Then I got a hole saw that was the size of the Romex clamp and started drilling. And that's not the easiest thing in the world to drill that because it wants to move. However, as we progressed, as you can see, eventually I got a mostly round hole. And that mostly round hole actually held the Romex clamp. So that was good enough. And there it is, finished. So then I just undid the wires on the ceiling, put the box that I built, screwed that on, and then put the wires back in, clamped down the clamps, and redid the wire nuts. And then to finish it off, I got a plastic cover and screwed that into the box that I built. It's not aesthetically the way I wanted it, but I got used to it. So anyway, getting back to the wiring, going from where the old fan was, since we weren't going to use that electric to control the fan, I ran a new wire to it, as you can see, and that goes down to the wall and then over by the vent where the cast iron grate is, through the wall, and then it connects to that big white box, which is a thermostat. And that thermostat runs not only the fan motor that you can see there. There was a 20-inch box fan. I use that for transferring heat from one room to the next, but it also controls the ceiling fan. And the idea is, as you can see here with the finished grate and everything in place, when the temperature of the ceiling gets to 68 degrees, both fans turn on. And then individually I can control whether I want them to come on, as well as the speed. And with the ceiling fan, I can control the direction. So let's talk about the lights. So to decide where we wanted the lights, She Who Must Be Obeyed had me cobble up a long extension cord connected to a socket and a bulb in it, and then that whole assembly was set into one of the globes. And then I went around the room holding it up to the ceiling until she told me where I wanted the lights. So then we took a piece of the wall board that we made the nickel wall out of and screwed that to the lath and plaster ceiling so I had a good solid base, put in my electrical box, and then ran the wire down to the wall. Next was the light down in the far end of the room, ran another wire. And all these wires join together and go down the wall in that channel to the 3-place switch. And then once we got the ceiling panels on, we started putting on the adapter for the reproduction antique light fixtures to hold the lamps. And as you notice, the lamps have to mount outside that box because they were designed for a box size that doesn't exist anymore. So therefore, that special adapter allows me to put the mounting screws outside the box, and you just drill a little pilot hole so that when you do put the base on, and you can see here, it mounts correctly. And then with 3 chains, you hook onto the base, and that light is suspended from those 3 chains. And then here's what it looks like turned on. And here's a close-up, and you can see the pattern. Particular lights, they come in several shades. There is white, which is kind of rare, clear, which is almost impossible to find, pink, and this color, which is peach, and then there is a blue. When we get to the bedroom in the next book, you'll see a blue shade. And finally, we had a problem with the one receptacle that was put in years ago. When they put the wall boards on, they put that receptacle so low that when I put my 8-inch baseboard to match the original baseboard that is behind the wall board, it's going to be covered up. So you would think you could just cut a hole and fish the wire over. Well, no, you can't. Wire's too short, and you can't get to it. As you can see here, I can't remove it. I can't do anything with it because that 2x4 was in the way. So I had to run a new piece of yellow Romex, and I cheated and went up through the cabinet and then turn and go through the wall and then through the metal box, and then finally we have power. And that is how we did the basic wiring in the living room